All right, Cowboys Nation, let's get real about what is happening with this defense because the issues are piling up and no amount of coach speak can cover them anymore. Every week we keep hearing about wanting to simplify things, focus on execution, maybe make the coverage easier to digest. But if you're watching the games, you know it is not about simplicity. The structure itself is flawed, and the lack of variation is killing this unit. Over and over again, the Cowboys are lining up in that same predictable four-man front, and opponents are figuring it out faster than ever. There's no disguise, no sense of surprise, and no element of creativity. It feels like offenses are already one step ahead the moment they break the huddle because they know exactly what is coming at them. The reliance on four-down linemen is staggering. No matter if it is against the run or against the pass, it is always the same look. That might have worked years ago when talent alone could overwhelm an offensive line. But in today's NFL, when quarterbacks get the ball out quickly and linemen are conditioned for speed and leverage, you have to create some form of confusion. The problem is not just that the Cowboys are rushing with four. The problem is they are rushing with four and failing to generate pressure. The numbers confirm it. Out of all the teams using this approach, Dallas ranks near the bottom in actually turning those rushes into results. The pressure rate is low, the sack totals are among the worst in the league, and the time it takes to even reach the quarterback is one of the slowest in the NFL. That combination is a recipe for disaster because it leaves the secondary exposed for far too long, and the coverage simply cannot hold up when the pass rush is this ineffective. The refusal to blitz or even incorporate consistent stunts is baffling. Against the run, you might see some movement, but when it comes to rushing the pass for the front, is far too static. Offensive linemen know exactly where each rusher will be, and without twists or loops, there is no element of uncertainty. It is almost as if the defense is content to line up man against man and hope talent wins out. But so far, the hope has been crushed because quarterbacks are getting all the time they need to scan the field and pick apart the zone coverage. On third down, when it matters most, Dallas cannot get off the field. Even when they force third and long situations by limiting the run, the defense stalls because the four-man pressure fails to disrupt timing. This is why so many drives are extended and why the frustration among fans is growing week after week. Now, let's move beyond the line and talk about what is happening on the back end. The Cowboys are leaning heavily into zone coverage. And when I say heavily, I mean to an extreme level. Nearly every drawback is defended with some form of zone, whether it is cover 2 or cover 4, and that predictability is showing. Quarterbacks are feasting on the space left open, averaging close to 10 yards per attempt against this look. That is not just bad, that is catastrophic. It is the kind of stat line that makes even average quarterbacks look like all pros. And when you pair a predictable four-man rush with predictable zone coverage, you have a defense that is essentially inviting offenses to do whatever they want. What makes it worse is how poorly the personnel fits this scheme. You have corners like Trayvon Diggs, who thrives when he can jump routes, bait throws, and use his instincts to create turnovers. In this zone-heavy approach, he is asked to sit back, play safe, and wait. Without pressure up front, opposing quarterbacks have no fear of making mistakes, and Diggs' aggressive style is wasted. Then you look at players like Donovan Wilson, who is much more comfortable in the box as a physical enforcer, but he is being asked to play deep like Malik Hooker. That is not his game. Instead of letting him attack, hit, and disrupt, the scheme places him in situations where his weaknesses are magnified. It is the classic case of trying to fit square pegs into round holes, and it is happening all over this defense. You cannot ignore the numbers. Dallas ranks at or near the bottom in almost every passing defense metric. Yard per game allowed through the air? Dead last. Yard per play allowed? Almost last. Sack rate? Among the worst. Pressure rate? Again, near the bottom. No matter which stat you choose, the story is the same. This defense is broken right now, and the stubbornness to adjust the scheme to the players is making things worse. Every coach preaches about tailoring the system to the talent on the roster, but here we are with a scheme-first mentality that refuses to bend even when the evidence is glaring. The rotation on the defensive line has not provided answers either. Outside of a few flashes here and there, nobody is consistently standing out. You can argue that some of the younger guys are getting better against the run, but where's the pass rush spark? Where's the difference maker who can change a game with a single play? Even when veterans are rotated in, the impact has been minimal. That is why so many voices are calling for Jadeveon Clowney to get more snaps immediately. He may not be the same dominant force he once was, but with the lack of disruption up front, he represents at least a chance to shake things up. At this point, keeping him on the sidelines while the defense continues to struggle makes no sense. And then we get to the linebackers. This group has been uninspiring so far, and the rotation feels more like a stubborn commitment than a competition. Coaches talk about earning reps through performance, but the snaps do not reflect that. Players who flashed promise in the preseason or early games are barely seeing the field, while others continue to get the bulk of the workload despite underwhelming results. The speed looks off, the instincts are questionable, and the communication is inconsistent. When a unit is struggling this badly, you have to be willing to experiment. Try different combinations, give new players a chance, and see if anyone can bring energy to a group that desperately needs it. Right now, it feels like the staff is afraid to make changes, and that passivity is bleeding into the performance on the field. The secondary is not immune from criticism either. Outside of Darren Bland, who has been one of the few bright spots, the cornerback group is underperforming. There are blown coverages, late reactions, and a general lack of confidence. Kaiir Elam, who already struggled in Buffalo's system, is now dealing with the same problems in Dallas. He does not look comfortable in zone, and offenses are targeting him repeatedly with success. Meanwhile, others like Jordan Lewis or Noah Benegin have shown flashes, but are not being used in ways that maximize their strengths. The staff has to be willing to sit players who are not getting it done and reward those who are stepping up. Sticking with the same lineup out of habit is not solving anything. It all comes back to the larger picture. This is not simply about missed tackles or miscommunication. This is about philosophy. A defense built on predictability and rigidity is getting exposed week after week, and a refusal to adapt is what makes it so frustrating for fans. It is not like the talent is non-existent. There are playmakers on this roster, but when you force them into roles that do not suit their skills and refuse to make schematic adjustments, you are wasting their abilities. At some point, adjustments are not optional. They are necessary for survival. Right now, this defense is playing like one of the worst in the league, and unless something changes, it will stay that way. All right, so if the first wave of issues for this Dallas defense is about predictability and philosophy, the second wave comes down to personnel decisions that have been either ignored or mishandled. When you look at the defensive line rotation, the constant complaint is that the production just is not there. You can point to individual moments, but those moments do not add up to consistent disruption. That is why so many people are demanding more time for Jadeveon Clowney. It is obvious. He has the pedigree, he still has the physical traits, and he has the ability to at least bring something different to a unit that looks stale. The Cowboys are the first team this season to go up against Caleb Williams and not register a single sack. That is almost unthinkable considering the amount of resources this franchise has poured into the defensive line. The time to get Clowney involved is not next month, not next week, but right now. When the guys you are leaning on are failing to create havoc, refusing to test a veteran with proven ability is just stubbornness. From there, you circle back to the secondary, because even if you manage to generate a little more pressure, the way this coverage unit is being deployed makes things worse. The raw numbers on zone usage are shocking. Over 90% of dropbacks defended in zone coverage, the highest mark in the entire league, and one of the highest single-season rates in modern history. That is not a creative strategy. That is predictability at its peak. And when those zones are getting shredded for over 9 yards an attempt, you're not just failing, you are getting humiliated. Teams are actively attacking the soft spots, finding easy completions, and then taking deep shots when the safeties get caught flat-footed. What makes this so maddening is that the scheme is not matching the skill sets of the players. Trayvon Diggs is not a soft cushion corner. He is a gambler, an instinctive playmaker, a guy who wants to anticipate a throw and jump the route. With no consistent pressure up front, he cannot play to those strengths because quarterbacks have all day to let routes develop. That mismatch wastes his ability. Then you look at Donovan Wilson. He is a box safety, a tone setter who thrives around the line of scrimmage. Instead, he is being treated as an interchangeable deep safety alongside Malik Hooker. That is not his role. When you ask him to patrol the back end, you are essentially putting him in a position to fail. And the frustrating part is that everyone can see it, yet the coaching staff continues to force the same responsibilities week after week. This same theme extends to other areas of the defense. Linebacker has been one of the biggest disappointments so far. It is not just about poor play. It is about a complete lack of competition. Maurice Lufau was praised after week 1, and there was talk about him earning more snaps. But that never materialized. Instead, the rotation has stayed the same, with Kenneth Murray, Jack Sanborn, and Damone Clark eating up nearly every rep. And the results speak for themselves. None of those players are flashing. None of them look like difference makers. Murray had a decent game here and there, but inconsistency is the theme. Sanborn looks slow, like he is always a step behind the play. Clark has not taken the leap many were hoping for. When you have a linebacker group playing at this level, why not shake it up? Why not give snaps to someone like Lufau, who actually showed promise? At some point, sticking with the status quo becomes a decision in itself, and it is a bad one. Then you move to the back end again, because the safety position is its own mess. Malik Hooker has been solid at times, but Donovan Wilson has been erratic. His interception earlier this year was gift-wrapped by a bad throw. That play masked what has otherwise been a rough stretch. He has struggled to cover tight ends, he has missed assignments, and he has not provided the stability you need from a back-end safety. If this defense is going to live and die in cover 2 and cover 4 shells, then maybe it is time to see what Wanya Thomas can do. He has the range, and if the scheme insists on those 2 deep looks, at least give someone who fits the mold a chance. Captains are great, but leadership does not excuse poor performance. The priority should always be putting the best players on the field, and right now, that is not happening. It is also bizarre to see players like Marquise Bell barely involved. 2 years ago, under Dan Quinn, he looked like one of the more promising coverage linebackers on the roster, a guy who could match up with tight ends and running backs. But here we are again, with another staff that barely uses him. When you're ranked near the bottom of the league in passing defense, how do you justify leaving players like Bell and Thomas on the sideline? It is a contradiction. The team is struggling, yet the coaches refuse to explore alternatives. The cornerback room is another puzzle. Darren Bland has been the clear standout, and even when he is not perfect, he is at least competing and producing. Trayvon Diggs, pitch count or not, is going to be out there because his talent demands it. But beyond them, what do you really have? Kyer Elam has been targeted mercilessly, and it is easy to see why. His instincts in zone are not there, and that was the same problem in Buffalo. He is not comfortable in these coverages, and opponents are exploiting it every chance they get. In contrast, Eric Scott Jr. and Jordan Lewis have looked serviceable at times, maybe even better options than Elam in certain packages. And yet the rotation does not change. If Bland is healthy enough to slide back outside, why not do that and sit Elam down for now? Why not at least experiment with combinations that might stabilize things? Instead, the same lineups roll out week after week, and the same results follow. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Whispers around the NFL world have grown louder this week, and the Dallas Cowboys seem to be at the center of the storm. Rumor has it that Tyreek Hill, the explosive wide receiver known for his game-breaking speed and jaw-dropping plays, could be on the verge of joining the star-studded roster of America's team. Sources close to the organization hint that this could be nothing short of a historic signing, potentially redefining the Cowboys' offensive identity for years to come. Hill, often referred to as the Cheetah for his lightning-quick moves and ability to turn any play into a highlight reel, has long been a coveted asset in the league. The buzz suggests that Dallas is pulling out all the stops exploring every angle to make the deal happen. If true, this signing wouldn't just be another addition. It would mark the largest, most audacious acquisition in Cowboys history, a statement that the team is ready to chase championship glory with a vengeance. Fans are already buzzing online, imagining Hill stretching defenses thin alongside the Cowboys' existing talent. Social media is alight with speculation. How would the chemistry work? Can the offensive line give him the protection he needs to turn breakaway speed into game-changing points? Analysts are weighing in, hinting that Hill's presence could transform Dallas into a legitimate Super Bowl contender overnight. Meanwhile, insiders hint that negotiations are delicate, with rival teams reportedly circling in hopes of luring Hill elsewhere. But the mere association of his name with Dallas has created a frenzy that the franchise hasn't seen in decades. If the rumors prove true, the Cowboys wouldn't just be making headlines. They'd be rewriting their legacy. For now, the NFL world waits with bated breath, watching for the move that could turn whispers into one of the most talked-about moments in league history. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.